Hello and welcome to CX Today. My name is Charlie and I'm bringing you our latest CX update video. And for this, I'm delighted to be joined by Sean Taylor, the CEO of Content Guru. Sean, thanks very much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Yeah, very good. It's great to be with you again, Charlie. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a great conversation last time, and it's great to have you back on the platform. And we're going to be talking about everything Content Guru. And let's start by maybe looking back over the past year. And from the outside looking in, it's been very positive. I mean, last time we spoke about a very big business deal, and there's been lots of others. And also very strong performance in analyst reports. I mean, the magic quadrant from Gartner. I think there was a Gartner Voice of the Customer report which showed that you had the highest willingness to recommend within your customer base across the industry, which is great to see. But if I can maybe kind of keep this focused on your portfolio, I don't know if you can maybe tell me about some of the most kind of successful products and services that kind of are really resonating with your customers at this time.
Okay, well, I'll start off by apologizing because what I'm going to mention is something that everybody's talking about, which is AI. So we've been hearing really for the last year and a half about AI. We're still in that, you referenced Gartner, so we're still in that hype cycle, I think, where we're sort of at the top in terms of expectations and whether they're fulfilled or not. So we think it's going to be a long journey. And basically, the the point that we're at the moment is how do we get AI and how do we monetize it? Because there's a lot of hype around what it can do, but I think some of the early stuff that we've seen around bots, etc., it's been quite disappointing. So we've looked at the sort of the bigger picture, and we tend to map these 15, 20-year horizons around what we're doing. But we're also looking at shorter sort of 3-year time frames. And so AI has been a massive one for us. So the contact center market in general, big question marks around what AI is going to do. Is it going to devastate the contact center marketplace? If you're looking at it from an accounting perspective, let's get rid of people. Cost center, wage inflation's been high. Can we automate? Well, in reality, things don't work out as cleanly as that. So we're seeing AI, particularly big area for us is around agent assist. So it's things that we're doing which are basically maybe quite tedious if I'm an agent, and I can get AI to sort of help me through. It can help close the gap in terms of where I am with my more experienced colleagues. So we've been doing a lot around AI, and we've been doing simple automation where there's a repetitive task, maybe a little bit more complicated than some of the pathway stuff that we'd have seen the maybe 5-10 years ago. So we're bringing along that full automation and taking it up to the next level, but not going to a point where it just ends up being a massive disappointment. So AI services assist, full automation have been really, really big, and that's by far and away, that's our hockey stick growth area in the business at the moment. So that's been the big one.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of noise around the agent assist tools at the moment, especially with Gen AI and the kind of the rise of use cases like summarization. Yeah, so so it's great to see a lot of interest in those tools that you have. I mean, you mentioned there though that you kind of plot out your roadmap for the next 10, 20 years. I don't know, maybe if you can share anything from that roadmap around kind of what features you might soon bring to customers and how they'll kind of benefit those customers too.
Yeah, so so the parent business we started, it's over 30 years ago. So when we talk about planning, we're not looking at 90-day cycles. We're looking at really quite substantial, long cycles. And so we'll run 15 to 20-year cycles in the business, and we've done 2 of those so far. And now we're in our next 15 to 20-year planning cycle. So we sort of think back to where we are. We had call centers, and I was involved back in the 1980s, actually helping with the very first call centers in the UK, where I'm based. And this was around privatization of things like BT, where lots of people were going to call in and buy their shares. And so these call centers were set up to handle these big influxes of calls and queue them and so on. And then if we sort of go through into the 2000s, looking at different types of contact and things like digital. So we mapped out from the 90s, looking at this thing, the information superhighway I've talked about over 1,000 times probably, and that was going to be very important, an open standards technology. And then we looked, as we moved into the content guru era, sort of going back 15 to 20 years ago, we thought cloud was going to be very important, and we looked at digital as being very important. So if we sort of put it as 3 points, I think call center has gone to contact center, and we'll be talking in 5-10 years' time really about CX. I think the term contact center will probably drop away. And what does that mean? Well, there are 2 parts that we're bringing together. We're bringing the communication together. How do I want to communicate? Do I want to communicate using WhatsApp, some social media environment, which is very commonly used? Do I want to go to something which is a little bit further out, which we've developed, and go into the metaverse? So if you want to be a pink fluffy bunny when you chat with me, and I'm in my avatar and I'm going to be a green emu, we don't care. That's a means of engaging. You're my customer, I'm a supplier, and if it's for something along the entertainment lines or it's to do with fashion, it's just another way that we're engaging. So we're seeing sort of digital to the sort of common stuff like a WhatsApp channel, through to some of the far-reaching stuff with metaverse. So that's one way of handling how we engage with our organizations. And then we're looking at data. And from whenever it was 15, 20 years ago, that thing, data is the new oil, that sort of progressed on. It's not politically correct to talk about the new oil, but the importance of data is critical. How do I take my information on you and use that to create an amazing experience? So communicate the way you want to, get the data that I have on you and create an amazing experience. Mashing those 2 things together, that's the core of CX. So over the next 15, 20 years, we think it'll just be about, your title will be CX, and the term contact center will drop away. What are the, beyond the communication and the data, what are the key parts of CX? We see a few interesting areas. So we're working very heavily on a customer data platform. That's been huge for us over the last 5 years. Probably 80-90% of new clients are buying the customer data platform that we have with that. And so what that's doing is it's harmonizing all the systems of information they have, be it an ERP like an SAP, be it a Salesforce, be it a Microsoft Dynamics. The system's bringing those things together, because your average agent's got nearly 14 systems of record that they have to manage. And we've seen 10s, 60 plus for some organizations, maybe just 2 or 3 for others, but that averages out to nearly 14 systems of information. So if we can take the customer data platform, bring all of that together, so I've got a single pane of glass, that just makes the job very, very simple. We've talked about AI, and that's a really critical part of it. So agent assist, that hybrid or full automation. And then the other big one that we feel is around what we call a digital customer. And that could be a fridge that's a smart fridge and it's placing an order for more groceries. No different to me going online and placing the order. If the fridge is smart enough to do it, money is money. So that's just another type of customer that we're happy to engage with. Or it could be stuff that's much more mainstream. Smart metering, we're doing a lot of that with power companies where we're getting information, and that might have been a person calling or going online to give us that information. Again, digital customer with a smart meter. And then really exciting things around telecare, where we're just using that to provide other types of communication rather than it being text or rather than it being voice. That information could be my blood pressure or my pulse, or it could be my stress levels. So the digital customer and meshing that in with the human customer, that's all part of that 15 to 20 year customer journey that we're going on. So those are some of the longer term things that we look to in the business.
Yeah, that was really great. Lots of excellent insight there, from the metaverse all the way to the Internet of Things too. But I think especially interesting is that trend that you mentioned in terms of the contact center perhaps being kind of becoming maybe a customer experience hub. What that means in terms of the kind of contact center as a service, does it become more experience of a service? And then what role does the data platform play within that, as you alluded to. I think, yeah, that's lots of really great stuff there. But if I had to kind of pin you to one tech trend that you think is really going to impact all of your customers throughout maybe the next 12 months, what would you say that trend would be?
Yeah, I'm sorry I can't come up with something like time travel, which is very different, but I'm going to bang the drum for AI. I
Mm.
think where we are now with AI, we're at a point where there's been so much hype around it, and we've got a combination of things. The technology is at a point now where it can, in certain areas, deliver incredible performance. We're looking that it can take on more and more human attributes. So some of the products that we've launched recently, they so transcription and summarization, really straightforward, big game changers. One of our clients, they were spending 60% of their time transcribing a conversation and then summarizing actions. So we've got real-time transcription going on, real-time summarization. It just means that the person can focus on the customer and they're not sitting there having to type up and they lose the thread of the conversation. So that's the kind of the first very measurable. And you mentioned transcription and summarization, absolute hockey stick growth curve product for us. But then we're looking at much more human stuff where we can do things like say, as we go along, you're not displaying empathy with this customer. They're really upset about something and you're not displaying enough empathy. So we're giving these very human cues and getting that sort of consistency in terms of the human feel actually being assisted by a machine. So we're seeing that's the kind of, these are the next stages. And so we see two broad categories of AI. In real time, something that's very acute that we need to inform the agent right now. You've gone way off script in terms of could be compliance, or it could be data protection, which is quite dangerous, or it could be you're just being downright rude. You know, because I know you're somebody that F's away all the time. So if that's happening, we've got to deal with that in an immediate fashion. But we don't want to be sat there being constantly told do this, and that's not going to enable us to relax into our jobs. So then behind the scenes, using AI for the post interaction analysis. And this is the incremental gain, saying it was good. We're giving that an 8 out of 10, but it would have been a 10 out of 10 if you could have, we've talked about shown sympathy, or this is an action item that you could have gone for, or you missed an upsell opportunity if we're being a little bit more mercenary around it. So AI, looking at those increases in things like empathy that it brings in there, and just continuing to grow things like transcription and summarization, where people are comfortable that they deliver, they don't disappoint. That's the short term, next 12 months, I feel, going to be big for the industry.
Mm. Yeah, and I think there's kind of a real trajectory within what you've just said there, in terms of kind of maybe there's a few low-hanging fruit cases that you can start with to build confidence, such as summarization. But
Yeah.
then you can sort of begin to think bigger once you kind of have that confidence in AI and start to blend the human agent and virtual agent, maybe, and kind of look to augment AI in various other ways. So yeah, there's lots of really great stuff there, Sean, and I'm sure we could talk about much more of this in much more depth. I think maybe that's a great place to end today's chat. So thanks very much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you so much again for the invite, and yeah, I look forward to catching up soon.
Absolutely. And yeah, also thanks to everybody for watching, and see you again soon, hopefully too.